Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Jennifer Halliburton with the Awakened Jenn Tarot. I'm a Soulful Revolution certified tarot reader, spiritual advisor, and healing and manifestation coach. And today I'm going to be doing another video in the series on spiritual awakening. So this is not going to be one of my usual content. This is not going to be a tarot reading. This is going to be more of an informational video for us. So I feel like right now we have lots of people waking up more and more every day. And I do remember what that was like when I went through my awakening, and it was confusing. And I was just desperately seeking anybody who could help me understand what was going on because I had no idea. In my situation, I'd never even heard of such things. So it wasn't even a thought about, a spiritual awakening because I'd never even heard of it. It just spontaneously happened. And so I instantly started scouring the internet, trying to find anything that could help me understand what had just happened to my life, what is happening to my life, what do I need to think of all this? Because I just felt so ungrounded. I felt, and nobody around me could even help me process through everything that was happening so quickly. So that's why I feel like that it's my turn now to start helping others who are coming up behind me to understand, what's going on, to help guide them through this process of awakening. And so I feel like that if you are even looking at this video, then you've already gone through, some of the earlier stages of awakening so that you already kind of know that you're on this path for you to even be interested in it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share some things with you. All right. So let me see. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the 5 stages of spiritual awakening. And we're starting with the dark night of the soul, moving to disillusionment, moving up again to seeking knowledge, then doing the inner work that leads to this unity consciousness that we do call the 5D. And before we get too far into that, I want to go over this other slide. So this slide, I love this. This is not mine, but it has just everything that I would want you to know about, the ascension process, the levels of consciousness, and the vibration chart. This just has so much information. So definitely take a screenshot and keep this information handy for you. So I talk a lot about the 3D, the 4D, and the 5D. And so this chart is going to help you understand what I mean when I'm talking about those different levels of dimension and levels of consciousness. That's really what that is. It's levels of awareness. And so for the majority of humanity, we stay stuck in this lower ego self in that third dimension. And so it's that bottom part of the pyramid. And this is where we have the victim consciousness. And so you can kind of see, in that vibrational chart there, where the lowest level there is shame, and then it moves up to guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, and then pride. And then once we get to courage, that's when we're moving up to that level of 4D. And so then, we have to work through the levels there of courage, neutrality, willingness, and then we get to acceptance. Once we get to the acceptance, now we're really moving up into the 5D at that point. And so that's when our inner light comes out, our inner wisdom starts coming out, our inner love, and we come to this oneness, this unity consciousness. And so, like, if you look over at the left side of this chart, where it's showing that lower ego self, it's also showing you the number that is the vibration of those levels. And so, the lower levels, that's really slow, dense energy. And, as it rises, that's how you can see, you're raising your vibration. This is what it means to raise your vibration, to raise it up on this vibrational chart here that's really about the emotions. It's really moving you from that victim consciousness into a very self-empowered, then self-realized, which is knowing yourself as a spiritual being having a human experience. All right, so let's get back to this one now, and let's just start going through the levels of awakening. Okay. All right, so the first stage is the dark night of the soul. And so this is very 3D energy. This is, that 3D level. It's the very base of that vibrational chart. And you're here when you're feeling lost, hopeless, and confused. Life usually hits rock bottom at this point. You could be dealing with serious health issues, financial issues, relationship issues, and it's really just this victim consciousness that you are perpetuating. And the thing is, we're not going to add shame and guilt because that's where we're already at. That's what we're vibrating at, is those lower levels. So we don't need to add the shame and guilt to this because you're already there. But this is really, life is just not fun at all. And so a lot of times when people go through the dark night of the soul, they could even go through a near death experience. That's another thing that will also lead people into this. Hold on just a second. Okay, I'm sorry about that. My dog got excited and I needed to go take care of that. Okay, so this is the victim consciousness. And like I said, we are not going to be adding any extra guilt to this. This is just where, you just realize I am not happy. I am not happy with the way life is going. But at this moment, you still don't know that you have a choice to get out of it. Here you're just kind of fully embracing that this is my life and this is my lot. And, a lot of times, this is the place where people will go one of two ways. You can get here, you'll either go further down, lower on that chart, or this is the thing that actually, encourages you to move up, to get yourself out of this place. And so if you choose to move up, then you'll move up to the level 2. And so with level 2, we're now moving up to the 4D, because you have to have a level of courage to be able to move forward with life after you've hit that rock bottom. So we're moving into the disillusionment stage. And so this is just a dissatisfaction with life. You start seeing the dualities in things. You start seeing, life wasn't always the way that they said it was. And you start picking up on conspiracy theories. This is what I call woke. You're starting to be aroused. You're not completely awake, but you are starting to understand that there's you start seeing big differences. Like, why does this group of people go through this type of stuff? And then this group of people, they don't seem to have to deal with that same type of experience. And so you start seeing the duality of things. And this really does lead you into the hermit phase. And the hermit phase is just where you're pulling back away from everything to really take that deep dive to look at your life, what you can do about it, and how you can really improve on it. And so, the disillusionment can last for quite a while. A lot of people stay stuck in this stage. They don't ever move out of this stage. They just get frustrated by the things that they start seeing in that duality. Because, when you're really asleep, you're not even seeing, you're taking everything at face value. You're not looking any deeper into anything that's all around you. You're not trying to find, the mainstream media. You're just watching it. They said this happened. Okay, this happened. You don't question it. And that's why I'm saying with the disillusionment phase, you are starting to question everything. You are starting to want to know, why do we keep living like this when it's not actually working for us? So then we move to level 3, which is where we are starting to seek knowledge. And so this is still in that 4D level. And so you just get so hungry for knowledge. You want to know everything you could possibly know. So you start seeking deeper meaning to life. You know that there has to be more than just working and, going to work, coming home, making dinner, cleaning up the house, and then going to bed. There's got to be more to life than just those things. You might start getting into astrology and tarot and the esoteric. So you start expanding, your horizons. You start, and those things help you to start seeing your soul at a much bigger level. That's what the tarot and astrology are going to go on and bring in for you, is to help you see yourself at that soul level. That's when you really start understanding that you had past lives, and all of these things will start coming in. You're just, like I said, the thirst for knowledge is so strong in this stage, and you're just really gaining spiritual wisdom. But this is the full-on hermit phase, when you go into just deep study. I want to know it all. All right. And then we move on to stage 4, which is the inner work. And we are still in 4D, but this is what moves us to the 5D. So you will not get to the 5D if you don't do this part. This is what they talk about with spiritual bypassing. So a lot of times people will get into that stage 3 and they'll learn all of this stuff, and they'll really get into all of these things, and they'll stop it there. And they'll think that's the level that, we have arrived, but you haven't. That's called the spiritual bypassing. So for the 4th stage, we have to do the work, and that is deep introspection and healing. It involves deep shadow work. It is letting go of what no longer serves you. This is the ego death, and it is also known as the void. And so I think that a lot of times we will do things here. This is where we're making the real changes in our lives. So we'll go to, special types of healing that deal with those deep ingrained traumas. So you might go get EMDR therapy, or you might go see a shaman and get, the soul retrievals, those types of things. But you're doing that deep work. It's the inner child work that's going on here, that is breaking free from these self-limiting beliefs that have been put in our, subconscious for a long time. Just some of them we were literally born with, just as part of the DNA programming that we had. And then some of it is given to us from our environment. Some of it's given to us from our family, from our friends, from just all of the connections that we have in our lives. And it creates this deep level of belief systems. And that's the things that when we went back to that disillusionment stage, this is the things that we're kind of breaking free from. The things that we were looking at that, like, well, this doesn't make sense. We're actually doing something about it now. And with the ego death, so I want to explain what the ego death is. Okay, your ego is your identity, and you're always going to have an ego. So I need you to, because ego can sometimes get a bad reputation. The ego is your humanity. It is trying to keep you safe. You are always going to have an ego, but you should always be dying to the ego every day when the ego is taking too much control over your life, and it's bringing in those self-limiting beliefs. So up until this point, you had a certain identity in this world, and you now know that you do not connect with that identity anymore. And so you have to die to that in order to be reborn into your new identity. And in that, okay, once you let go of the old, but you haven't fully connected to the new, that's what the void is. And the void doesn't feel very good, I'll be honest. You've done so much work, but now then you just kind of feel like you don't belong anywhere. You know you don't belong with the past, but you also haven't fully connected with your future self yet. You don't know who that is even supposed to be, where they're supposed to go. So it can feel very ungrounded in this state. But this is just, it's allowing all of those old programmings to be removed before you start anchoring into that new reality. Okay. So let's now move on to stage 5, which is unity consciousness. And this is when we've made it to the 5D. So this is what we're talking about with the spiritual awakening. So this is the rebirth I was talking about. Once you go through that ego death, then you can rebirth your whole new life, this whole new identity. You have this connection with a very strong connection with the divine. Your spiritual gifts are wide open at this point, and you have a deep alignment with life. So you have much more fulfillment with life. You understand that there are, the positives and negatives, the good and bad that we have, because that we have to have the balance. You understand that we need both parts. You cannot have light without the dark. You are understanding yourself as a spiritual being having a human experience. So you see yourself on a much grander scale than you ever have before. You pull yourself back and understand, that you are a soul, that you are a soul, and that, this is your incarnation of this soul at this time, but you've had many other incarnations before. And that they're all kind of working to continue to grow and evolve you on that soul level. And then, this is the unity or the Christ consciousness. So I do refer to Christ consciousness a lot, and this is the unity consciousness. This is where you understand how very connected we all really are. This is where, this is the love consciousness as well. But the unity consciousness, it is that understanding that we were all derived from source, that we are all just little experiences of source, incarnating so that source can have, all of this information, all of the experience that we will be providing. So this is where I talk about, this is where we talk about that you have the full divinity of God, and where people might say, that they are God, this is not the same. So we can look at God as like the whole ocean, and you are just a drop in the ocean of what God is. So you are fully made up of everything that God is, but you do not fully make up what God is. So, but this is how you understand your divinity. And so if you are part of everything that God is, then that connects you with literally everything around you. Every single person around you is also a part of what God is. Okay. So, this is what it means to go through the awakening process. And, once you get to this 5D, life still has its struggles, but you just deal with them from a very different perspective. You still will go through, hard times, because life has, this flow to it, the up and down. And so you'll still go through stuff, but you're going to look at it from a different perspective. You're going to see things as lessons, and you're going to interact with them much different now that you have this other information available to you. All right, so that's all I really wanted to share today about the 5 levels of spiritual awakening, and I'd love to know what level you might be in at this time. Let me see if I can pull my screen back up. Okay. Yeah, so I would love to know what level you were at in your awakening experience at this time. I think that we can also kind of flow back and forth, but really, once you get past the disillusionment and you really start doing the work, you're not going to go all the way back again. So you might go in and out of the 4D and 5D for a little bit, but then you're going to get to this place where you're going to see, you have actually arrived, and it's much easier to stay in that space in more prolonged times. And the more that you're doing this, it's allowing the other people around you to start doing it too. All right, so I hope that this helped you understand your spiritual awakening experience to this point. And if there's any topics that you would like me to cover in regard to this, please let me know down in the comments. Other than that, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.